Hey, Shalom. I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honors to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakwadash. I'd like to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who rule well. Peace, salutation, and blessings to the elect who firmly believe in Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. Now, the title of this lesson is going to be Beware of Spiritual Landmines. Beware of Spiritual Landmines. And I just wanted to get a quick definition of what a landmine is. It says a landmine or landmine is an explosive weapon concealed under or camouflaged on the ground and designed to destroy or disable enemy targets, ranging from combatants to vehicles and tanks as they pass over or near it. Right? And these are some, some examples or some pictures of it. It says such a device is typically detonated automatically by way of pressure when a target steps on it or drives over it. Although other detonation mechanisms are also sometimes used, a landmine may cause damage by direct blast effect, by fragments that are thrown by the blast, or by both. Landmines are typically laid throughout an area, creating a minefield which is dangerous to cross. You know, in the times that we're living in are perilous times, which means danger. Let me pull that out real quick. It's the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 3, verse 1. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. So if perilous times is going to come, that means there are going to be spiritual landmines laid before brothers, you know, attempting to get us to fall off track, attempting to get us to fall out the truth, attempting to take us out. You know, so we got to be mindful. We got to be aware, you know, of the spiritual landmines that's set. Now, spiritual landmines can come in the form of false prophets and false teachers. You know, and the scriptures tell us, you know, to beware of individuals as such. You know, spiritual landmines can come in the form of a woman. You know, spiritual landmines can come, you know, while you're driving on the way to work. You know, I had an experience earlier, you know, spiritual landmines can come from a demon on the job, you know. That's why it's best to just keep your eyes open, you know, and make sure you're covered, you know, by the blood of Yahweh Shai, by teaching his word in sincerity and in truth, right? So this is the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 15. It says, beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. You know, now I was on the way home and I just see IUIC teaching up the street from where I live, man. You know, and they got some engagement, you know, but they're conversing with individuals who don't know no better. You know, they're false prophets, man. But it takes a discerning mind, you know, to be able to discern who is a false prophet. You got to know and understand the scriptures and able to discern it. You know, and reading on, it says, beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. That's right. They're not in it for your best interests. You know, they're not in it for your best interest, but for their own personal benefit. Like the scriptures say, for they teach for hire. What's that? Malachi. Let me see, what's that? Teach for hire. Micah chapter 3 verse 11 says, the heads thereof judge for reward, and the priests thereof teach for hire, and the prophets thereof divine for money. Yet will they lean upon the Lord and say, it's not the Lord among us, none evil can come upon us. That's right. So you got the false prophets doing what they do just for filthy lucre's sake, just for the money. They're not in it for your salvation. You know, they're not in it for your salvation, man. Titus chapter 1, verse 11. Well, let me start at verse 9. It says, holding fast the faithful word as he hath been taught, that he may be able by sound doctrine both to exhort and to convince the gainsayers. For there are many unruly and vain talkers and deceivers, especially they of the circumcision. That's right, those who know that they are Israelites. You know, in order to tell a lie, you got to know the truth. You know, and beginning with Nate, you know, he know the truth because he learned it once upon a time. That's why he's able to tell these lies. And then he got men that's under him, perpetuating the lies, you know. So, like the scriptures say, if the blind lead the blind, they both shall fall into a ditch. Right? That's what the scriptures say. And that's the truth. We see it happening time and time again. It says, whose mouths must be stopped, who subvert whole houses, teaching things which they ought not. So for filthy lucre's sake, here it is. They're telling people that the MOTB, the mark of the beast, is Christianity. That's an example of teaching things that you ought not, or saying that two men can rule at once. We can have our kingdom set up alongside Edom's kingdom, or you got IUIC also pushing once upon a time that you can't talk about the so-called white man. So pretty much they're telling you can't talk about prophecy because the downfall and destruction of Edom, the so-called white man, is a part of prophecy. But of course, we understand that they're linked to a 501c3 charter. So that's all case and example of a spiritual landmine. We got to be mindful of those things. We got to be aware of those things. Like the scriptures say, evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 13, it says, but evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. And it by way of their doctrine. That's why it's important and imperative to know the truth. That's what we teach here at Great Millstone, the truth. And once you know the truth, you're able to discern and pick out the lies. And you know who to follow, who not to follow, who to engage with, who not to engage with. Who to have mercy with, who not to have mercy with. The what you speak is going to reveal everything. So it says, but verse 14, but continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and hast been assured of, knowing of whom thou hast learned them. So it's also about knowing who you learned it from. You got to watch a man in his ways. Are they instant in season and out of season? Meaning, are they teaching his word when it's cold outside and when it's hot? Or just when it's hot? If they only teaching the word when it's hot, I promise you, I haven't been seeing these guys all winter. All of a sudden, I see them. So that's a case and example of them not being on fire for the Lord. They do it when it's convenient. They do it when it's comfortable. They are spiritual landmines. Even to the point, when in fact, let me get that. I think it's what? Judges 16. When Samson was dealing with Delilah, she was a spiritual landmine. Right, let me get Judges chapter 16, verse 1. It says, then went Samson to Gaza and saw there an harlot and went in unto her. And it was told the Gazites, saying, Samson is come hither. And they compassed him in and laid wait for him all night in the gate of the city, and were quiet all the night, saying, in the morning, when it is day, we shall kill him. And Samson lay till midnight, and arose at midnight, and took the doors of the gate of the city and 2 posts, and went away with them, bar and all, and put them upon his shoulders, and carried them up to the top of an hill, that is before Hebron. And it came to pass afterward that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. And the lords of the Philistines came up unto her, and said unto her, entice him, and see wherein his great strength lieth. Right? So this is what being concealed. Going back to the definition of a landmine. This is she's concealing herself. Because why? The Philistines are pretty much telling her to entice him. Right? Even going back to the point of the beware of the false prophets, who come to you in sheep's clothing. They're concealing themselves to be righteous men, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. That's how we know and understand that they are spiritual landmines, because a landmine you can't see. Once you walk over it or once you drive over it, when pressure is applied, that's when it blows up. So know what to apply pressure to and what to refrain from. Right? Entice him and see wherein his great strength lieth, and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him, and we will give thee every one of us 1,100 pieces of silver. That's why it's important to keep your eyes open, man, when dealing with these women. You know, they may have a guy on the other side of the spectrum that you don't know about that could be very jealous, you know, or, you know, she could just have a man, period. You know, you just gotta be leery. You know, you gotta be real leery when dealing with these women. It says, and Delilah said to Samson, well, Delilah is what I call a setup chick. She's a setup chick. You know, that's how a lot of people get taken out by, you know, you put a pretty woman on a man and then you start revealing all the secrets, you know. It says, and Delilah said, and they saying that's what Puff Daddy did to 50 Cent, you know, with his baby mother. But that's neither here nor there. It says, and Delilah said to Samson, tell me, I pray thee, wherein thy great strength lieth, and wherewith thou mightest be bound to afflict thee. And Samson said unto her, if they bind me with 7 green withs that were never dried, then shall I be weak, and be as another man. Then the lords of the Philistines brought up to her 7 green withs, which had not been dried, and she bound him with them. Now there were men lying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber. And she said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he brake with the withs, as a thread of tow is broken when it touches the fire. So his strength was not known. And Delilah said unto Samson, behold, thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Now tell me, I pray thee, wherewith thou mightest be bound. And here it is, Samson knew not to tell her, but he folded. You know, when that sweet nectar, you know, gets upon you, you know what I'm saying, you can find yourself getting weak for. It says, where was I at? It says, tell me wherewith thou mightest be bound. And he said unto her, if thou weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web. And she fastened it with the pin, and she said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he awaked out of his sleep, and went away with the pin of the beam, and with the web. And she said unto him, how canst thou say, I love thee, when thine heart is not with me? See, she's over there playing victim. You know, that's one of the ways and trickeries of a woman. So that's why it's important to know and understand these scriptures and check out female behavior, female nature. A woman will play victim to get information out of you, or to pretty much get you to do what she wants you to do. As men of the Lord, we ought not to fall for that. We ought not to fall for that. The things aforetime are written for our learning, that we through patience of the scriptures might have hope. Right? It says, thou hast mocked me these 3 times, and hast not told me wherein thy great strength lieth. And it came to pass when she pressed him daily, right, with her words, and urged him so that his soul was vexed unto death. And brothers, as a piece of advice, if this situation happens, if a woman is vexing you daily, leave her before you give in, you know, and you'll please the Most High, right? And it says that he told her all his heart and said unto her, there have not come a razor upon mine head, for I have been a Nazarite unto Yahweh from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak and be like any other man. And when Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, because she understood that was the truth, you know what I mean? Women can discern what's the truth and what's a lie. You know what I mean? They call it women's intuition, right? It says, and when Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines, saying, come up this once, for he hath showed me all his heart. Then the lords of the Philistines came up unto her, and brought money in their hand. And she made him sleep upon her knees, and she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head. And she began to afflict him, and his strength went from him. And she said, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he awoke out of his sleep, and said, I will go out at other times before, and shake myself. And he wist not that the Lord was departed from him. You know, and you know, when you read the rest of the story, you realize, you know, the Lord allowed him to have strength one last time, and he took him out. But that was all she wrote for, you know, Samson. You know, he lost his strength, you know, so he gave into the will of a woman, you know. So what? She was an example of a spiritual landmine. You know, she concealed her true nature. You know, she played as if she was all into him, like she loved him, but she was actually working for the enemy. So, brothers, be mindful. You know, they can also come in the forms of agents. You know, there's a scripture, feign themselves. Let me see, what's that? Feign themselves, just men. Right, Luke chapter 20, verse 20. This is another example of a spiritual landmine. Luke chapter 20, I'm going to start at verse 19. It says, "And the chief priests and the scribes the same hour sought to lay hands on him. And they feared the people, for they perceived that he had spoken this parable against him. And they watched him and sent forth spies, which should feign themselves just men, that they might take hold of his words, that so they might deliver him unto the power and authority of the governor." So people portraying as if they're righteous men, ready to learn, ready to receive the word. But ultimately they work, for the enemy, for the opposition. Beware of spiritual landmines. When you look up that word, let me see. When you look up that word feign, look it up on my other phone. You look up that word feign. It says to pretend to be affected by, feeling state, right? So you're pretty much acting, You're portraying yourself to be a just man, right? That they may take hold of his word, that so they might deliver him unto the power and authority. You just taking information and reporting back, It says, and they asked him, saying, "Master, we know that thou sayest and teachest rightly. Neither acceptest thou the person of any, but teachest the way of God truly. Is it lawful for us to give tribute unto Caesar or no?" But he perceived their craftiness and said unto them, "Why tempt ye me? Show me a penny whose image and subscription hath it." They answered and said, "Caesar's." And he said unto them, "Render therefore unto Caesar the things which be Caesar's, and unto Yahweh the things which be Yahweh's." So he read through their bullshit, man. He examined the spiritual landmine, and overcame them through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Close out with this right here. In the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 11, it says, let me start at verse 10. It says, "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil," meaning the trickeries. Like I said, they could come in the form of a woman. They could come in the form of just a demon popping up on a stranger. They could come in the form of money. They could come in the form of, a spy. Whatever the case may be, beware of the wiles of the devil, right? It says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." So we're fighting against the darkness of this world, where they perform witchcraft, they perform seances, they have these ceremonies to attempt to get us out the way. So that's why we got to stay prayed up. We got to keep teaching. We got to keep our spiritual fortitude strong. It says, "Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of Yahweh, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked." So that's what it's about, quenching all the fiery darts of the wicked. Making sure whatever attempt upon brothers, whether it be spiritually, physically, financially, if you move in the operation of the spirit, we're going to be able to quench all of those shots that's thrown at us. It says, "And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the spirit, which is the word of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua." So brothers, it's about staying strong. Keep your eyes peeled. That's why the Lord called us out of the world. You know what I'm saying? So we're able to see with a more clear view. If you're in the world, you're in it. You're in the midst of it. You're not going to be able to recognize a snake, a rat, a cat, a dog. You know what I'm saying? Because you're in the midst. You're in the matrix. You're not watching it. The best way to get a view for things from an aerial view, or if you're outside the circle, you know what I'm saying? We coming out of the world. So we're able to see things for what they are and not for what we want them to be. Right? So pay attention. With that, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Bashim Dash, I like to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace, salutation, and blessings to the elect. Shalom.